Millionaire's baby wouldn't stop crying on the plane until a single mother did the unthinkable. Millionaire's baby wouldn't stop crying on the plane until a single mother did the unthinkable. Maya stepped onto the first-class cabin of Flight AA347, her Hermes Birkin bag carefully balanced against her hip, while she cradled 8-month-old Caleb against her chest. The baby's soft breaths tickled her neck as she made her way down the aisle. His tiny fingers curled into the fabric of her cream silk blouse. "Right this way, Ms. Reynolds," the flight attendant gestured with a practiced smile, leading them to their spacious first-class seats. Maya settled into the plush leather seat, arranging Caleb's diaper bag under the seat in front of her. She'd planned everything meticulously: the morning feeding schedule, his favorite pacifier, and even the special noise-canceling headphones designed for infants. This meeting in Chicago could change everything for her family's company, and she needed it to go perfectly. "Can I get you anything before takeoff, Ms. Reynolds?" The attendant hovered nearby. "Just some warm water for his bottle, please." Maya checked her watch. Another hour until Caleb's next feeding. She'd timed it perfectly with the flight schedule. As other passengers filed past toward coach, Maya pulled out her tablet, reviewing the presentation one last time. The merger would expand their tech division into emerging markets, potentially doubling their annual revenue. Her father had trusted her with this deal, and she couldn't let him down. The plane began its taxi down the runway, and Caleb stirred slightly but remained peaceful. Maya allowed herself to relax slightly, smoothing down her tailored pants and double-checking her appearance in her compact mirror. Her dark hair was perfectly styled, makeup flawless, every inch the successful businesswoman she needed to be. 20 minutes into the flight, everything changed. It started with a whimper, then escalated into a full-blown wail. Caleb's face turned red as he screamed, tiny fists balling up in distress. "Shh, sweetheart. It's okay," Maya whispered, bouncing him gently. She reached for his bottle, but he turned his head away, crying harder. The first disapproving glance came from the businessman across the aisle. His lips pursed as he lowered his newspaper. A couple in front turned around, their faces pinched with annoyance. "Maybe try the pacifier?" suggested the flight attendant, hovering uncertainly nearby. Maya fumbled through the diaper bag, her hands shaking slightly as she located the pacifier. Caleb spat it out immediately, his cries growing louder. She could feel the weight of everyone's stares, their judgment pressing in on her like a physical force. "Can't you control your baby?" someone muttered from a few rows back. Heat crept up Maya's neck as she stood, walking up and down the aisle, trying to soothe Caleb. Nothing worked. Not the gentle bouncing, not his favorite stuffed elephant, not even the lullaby she quietly hummed. "This is a 5-hour flight," another passenger complained loudly. "Someone needs to do something." Maya's eyes stung with unshed tears as she returned to her seat. She was used to being in control, to commanding respect in boardrooms and business meetings. But here, with her crying son and a cabin full of irritated passengers, she felt completely helpless. The sophisticated image she'd carefully constructed was crumbling. Her blouse was now wrinkled and spotted with Caleb's tears, her perfectly styled hair coming loose as she continued trying to comfort him. The presentation she needed to review lay forgotten on her tablet, as she focused all her attention on trying to quiet her distraught son. "Ma'am, is there anything we can do to help?" the flight attendant asked again, her professional smile strained. Maya shook her head, her cheeks burning with embarrassment as Caleb's cries echoed through the cabin. She could handle million-dollar negotiations and cutthroat business deals, but she couldn't even manage to calm her own baby. The whispers and sighs from other passengers grew louder, making her feel increasingly small and incompetent. Caleb's wails reached a new crescendo, his tiny face scrunched and red with effort. Maya's hands trembled as she attempted to rock him, her designer watch catching the harsh overhead lights as she moved. The disapproving murmurs around her grew louder, mixing with her son's cries into a crushing wave of sound. "Please, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please stop crying." But Caleb only screamed louder, his little body rigid with distress. A woman in worn jeans and a simple cotton blouse stood up from her seat a few rows back. She made her way forward, navigating the narrow aisle with practiced ease. Her movements were unhurried, confident, as she approached Maya's seat. "Hi there," the woman said softly, her warm brown eyes crinkling with understanding. "I'm Liz. Would you like some help?" Maya looked up, mascara slightly smudged beneath her eyes. Under normal circumstances, she might have politely declined. She wasn't used to accepting help, especially from strangers. But there was something in Liz's gentle expression that made her hesitate. Maya's voice wavered. "I've tried everything." "May I?" Liz held out her arms, and after a moment's hesitation, Maya carefully transferred the crying baby to her. Liz adjusted Caleb with practiced ease, positioning him so his head rested against her shoulder. Her movements were fluid and natural as she began a gentle swaying motion, one hand patting a steady rhythm against his back. She hummed softly, not a lullaby, but a low, continuous sound that seemed to vibrate through her chest. "There we go, little one," Liz murmured, her voice barely audible above Caleb's cries. "That's it. Let it all out." To Maya's astonishment, Caleb's wails began to soften. His rigid body gradually relaxed against Liz's shoulder, his cries diminishing to hiccuping sobs. Liz continued her gentle swaying, maintaining the steady pat-pat-pat against his back. The transformation in the cabin was remarkable. As Caleb's cries subsided, the tension that had filled the air began to dissipate. Passengers who had been shooting irritated glances their way now returned to their books and tablets. The businessman across the aisle lowered his newspaper with a relieved sigh. Maya watched in wonder as Caleb's eyes began to droop, his small fingers unclenching from their tight fists. Liz moved with the practiced grace of someone who had done this countless times before, her movements smooth and assured. "How did you—" Maya began, then stopped, shaking her head in amazement. "Sometimes they just need a different set of arms," Liz explained quietly, still maintaining her gentle sway. "The rhythm helps, too. Reminds them of the heartbeat they heard before they were born." Maya noticed the subtle differences in how Liz held Caleb compared to her own attempts. The way she supported his head, the specific angle of her body, the consistent motion. It all seemed so simple now that she watched it being done. "I can't thank you enough," Maya said, reaching up to smooth her disheveled hair. "I was at my wit's end." Liz smiled, the expression warming her tired eyes. "We've all been there. I remember when my son was this age. There were days I thought I'd never figure it out." "You have children?" Maya asked, genuinely curious. There was something about this woman, a quiet competence that drew her in. "A son," Liz replied, carefully lowering herself into the empty seat beside Maya, still cradling the now peaceful Caleb. "He's 12 now, but I swear I can still remember every sleepless night like it was yesterday." Maya found herself leaning forward, drawn into conversation. 12? You must have so many tips and tricks. I feel like I'm still stumbling around in the dark most days." "Oh, honey," Liz chuckled softly. "We're all stumbling. Some of us have just been stumbling longer than others." The gentle hum of the airplane's engines provided a soothing backdrop as Caleb slept peacefully in Liz's arms. Maya watched, still amazed at how quickly this stranger had transformed her crying son into a content, sleeping baby. "Would you like him back?" Liz asked softly, noticing Maya's gaze. "Oh no," Maya rushed to say, holding up her hands. "He looks so peaceful. I'd hate to disturb him." She smoothed her silk blouse, trying to regain some of her usual composure. "So, you mentioned you have a 12-year-old? Liz nodded, her fingers absently stroking Caleb's back. "Jake. He's probably at home right now, pretending to do his homework while actually playing video games." A fond smile touched her lips. "I'll have to check in with Mrs. Rodriguez when we land. She watches him when I have to travel for work." "You travel often?" Maya asked, genuinely curious. "Only when I have to cover shifts at different store locations," Liz explained. "I manage a retail store during the day, and I pick up evening shifts at a diner when they need extra hands. It's not ideal, but it pays the bills." Maya felt a flutter of surprise. She'd assumed, given Liz's capable manner, that she was perhaps a nurse or teacher. 2 jobs? That must be exhausting." "You do what you have to do," Liz shrugged, but Maya noticed the slight tightening around her eyes. "Jake needs new clothes every few months. He's growing like a weed. Then there's school supplies, sports equipment, food. Kids aren't cheap." Maya glanced down at her own designer shoes, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "And Jake's father?" she ventured carefully. "Not in the picture," Liz replied, her tone matter-of-fact but with an underlying edge. "It's been just Jake and me since he was born. My dad—" She paused, adjusting Caleb slightly in her arms. "Well, he left when I was pregnant. Couldn't handle the shame of his teenage daughter making the same mistakes he thought my mom made." The bitterness in Liz's voice was subtle, but unmistakable. Maya found herself leaning closer, drawn in by the raw honesty in the other woman's words. "My mom had me young too," Liz continued, her voice dropping slightly. "Dad always resented having to settle down so early. When I got pregnant with Jake, it was like history repeating itself in his eyes. One day he just left. No note, no goodbye, just emptied the bank accounts and disappeared." Maya's chest tightened at the pain evident in Liz's voice. "That must have been terrible," she said softly. "The hardest part wasn't even him leaving," Liz admitted, her fingers still maintaining their gentle rhythm on Caleb's back. "It was watching my mom break down, realizing she'd have to start over at 50. All those years of working together to build something, and he just—" She shook her head. "We lost everything. The house, the car, our savings. Had to move in with my aunt until I could find work." The overhead lights flickered briefly, casting shadows across Liz's face. In that moment, Maya saw beyond the capable, kind woman who'd helped with her son. She saw the layers of hurt, the years of struggle, the weight of responsibility that Liz carried. "But you know what?" Liz's voice strengthened. "Jake is the best thing that ever happened to me. Every extra shift, every missed night of sleep. It's all worth it to see him grow up into this amazing kid. He's smart, kind, and he has this incredible heart. Sometimes I look at him and can hardly believe he's mine." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. Here was a woman who'd faced abandonment, financial ruin, and the challenges of single motherhood, yet spoke with such genuine love and pride about her child. It made Maya's own struggles with Caleb seem trivial in comparison. "You've done an amazing job," Maya said softly. "Raising a child alone, I can't imagine how difficult that must be." Liz's eyes met Maya's, and for a moment, the distance between their very different worlds seemed to shrink. "You do what you have to do for your kids," she said simply. "That's what being a mother is all about." Maya watched as Liz gently adjusted Caleb in her arms, the baby still peacefully sleeping. The gentle hum of the airplane engines provided a soothing background to their conversation. "You know," Liz continued, her voice soft but steady, "growing up without a father, It changes you, makes you harder in some ways, softer in others. She smoothed Caleb's tiny shirt with careful fingers. I promised myself Jake would never feel that emptiness I felt, even if it meant working myself to the bone. Maya nodded, her throat tight. How did you manage? Right after Dad left? Liz gave a small, humorless laugh. It wasn't pretty. Mom fell apart, understandably. I was 17, pregnant, and suddenly the adult in the house. We ate a lot of ramen those first few months. I learned to clip coupons, shop sales, make a dollar stretch until it screamed. The fluorescent cabin lights caught the slight shimmer in Liz's eyes. But you know what's funny? Those hard times taught me everything I needed to know about being a parent. When Jake came along, I already knew how to budget, how to sacrifice, how to put someone else's needs before my own. Maya glanced down at her Cartier watch, feeling a wave of self-consciousness. What kind of sacrifices? Oh, the usual, Liz said, her tone lightening slightly. Skipped college to work full-time. Sold my car to pay for Jake's medical bills when he got pneumonia at age 3. Moved into a tiny studio apartment so we could live in a better school district. She shrugged. You do what you have to do. But you're doing so much better now, right? Maya asked, hoping to hear some happiness in this story. Better is relative, Liz smiled. We're stable. Jake has everything he needs, even if not everything he wants. I've managed to save a little each month. Started taking some online business classes when I can squeeze them in between shifts. Maya found herself leaning forward, genuinely interested. Business classes? I have this dream, Liz admitted, a spark lighting her eyes. A small cafe-bookstore combination. Something cozy where people can feel at home. Jake helps me brainstorm names sometimes. Her expression softened. He's so supportive, even though he knows it's probably just a pipe dream. Why a pipe dream? Maya asked. It sounds wonderful. Liz's face clouded slightly. Starting a business requires capital, and after what happened with Dad's investments when his company went under, she shook her head. Let's just say banks aren't exactly fighting to give me loans. Your father was in business? He worked for one of those big corporations, Liz explained, adjusting Caleb as he stirred slightly. Senior management position at Palmer Industries. He'd invested everything we had in company stock. Our savings, my college fund, even took out a second mortgage. Then the merger happened. Maya's hand froze on her armrest, her heart suddenly pounding. The new owners restructured everything, Liz continued, unaware of Maya's reaction. Dad's division was eliminated, the stock plummeted, and we lost it all. That's when he... She trailed off, then forced a smile. Well, you know the rest. The company's doing great now, though. Changed its name to Winters International about 10 years ago. Quite the success story, from what I hear. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. Winters International, her father's company. The merger Liz was talking about had been her father's first major acquisition, the deal that had tripled their family fortune. She'd been too young to understand it then. But now... Are you all right? Liz asked, noticing Maya's pallor. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maya struggled to find her voice, her mind racing with the implications of this connection. I'm fine, she managed. Just, the air in here is a bit stuffy. The cabin lights flickered as the plane began its gradual descent. Maya's stomach churned, but not from the altitude change. Each word from Liz's story felt like another weight pressing down on her chest. It's strange, Liz mused, still cradling the sleeping Caleb. Looking back, I can almost pinpoint the exact moment everything changed. Dad came home early that Tuesday, his tie loose, face gray. He'd been at Palmer Industries for 15 years, practically my whole life up until then. Maya gripped her armrest tighter, her manicured nails digging into the leather. The merger, her father's crowning achievement, played out differently in her mind now. The champagne celebrations, the newspaper headlines praising Julian Winter's business acumen, the new summer house they'd bought that year. Mom tried to calm him down, Liz continued, her voice dropping lower. But he just kept saying, "It's all gone." Over and over. The new management had gutted his entire division. Hundreds of people lost their jobs overnight. She adjusted Caleb's blanket, her movements gentle despite the hardness in her voice. But that wasn't even the worst part. The plane dipped slightly, causing several passengers to stir. Maya barely noticed, transfixed by Liz's words. Dad had been so sure of the company's success, he'd convinced half our relatives to invest too. Our neighbors, his friends, everyone trusted his judgment. Why wouldn't they? He'd been there forever, knew the business inside and out. Liz's laugh held no humor. He didn't know about the merger until it was too late. None of us did. Maya's throat felt dry. She remembered her father's words at dinner parties. "Business is war, sweetheart. The weak get absorbed or eliminated. That's just how it works." The stock dropped so fast, Liz said, shaking her head. Dad had leveraged everything we had. The college funds, the retirement accounts, even our house. It wasn't just us anymore. He'd lost everyone's money. Our whole community. She trailed off, lost in memory. The fasten seatbelt sign chimed overhead. Maya mechanically clicked hers into place, her movements automatic while her mind raced. She'd been 12 when the merger happened. Too young to understand the business implications, too sheltered to see beyond the new toys and vacations it had brought her family. He changed after that, Liz continued. Stopped eating, barely slept. Mom found him one morning just staring at the wall. When she tried to talk to him, he packed a bag and left. No note, no goodbye. Just gone. She looked down at Caleb, her expression softening. The last I heard, he was working as a night security guard somewhere in Nevada. Couldn't face anyone here after what happened. Maya felt cold despite the cabin's warmth. Winters International's logo flashed through her mind. The same logo on her father's cufflinks, on her business cards, on the side of their corporate headquarters. The empire built on the ruins of families like Liz's. But you know what's funny? Liz said, unaware of Maya's internal turmoil. Sometimes I think it made me stronger. When you've lost everything, you learn what really matters. Money, status, it all goes away so fast. But love, determination, that stays. The plane tilted forward more sharply now, beginning its final approach. Maya stared out the window, seeing not the approaching city lights, but the stark contrast between their lives. While she'd been attending private school and planning luxury vacations, Liz had been fighting to keep food on the table and a roof over her head. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. The business world isn't about being nice, Maya. It's about survival. The strong prosper, and the weak. She'd never bothered to think about who the weak were, never considered the human cost of their prosperity. Until now. Guilt settled in her stomach like lead as she watched Liz tenderly adjust Caleb's blanket one more time. The woman who had just shown her such kindness was also a casualty of her family's success. The realization left her frozen, unable to speak or move, as the plane continued its descent toward the city below. Maya's designer heels clicked against the jet bridge as passengers filed out of the plane. Her hands trembled slightly as she gathered her belongings, the weight of Liz's story pressing down on her shoulders. The Louis Vuitton bag that had felt like a status symbol just hours ago now seemed to mock her with its excess. "Thank you again for your help with Caleb," Maya managed, her voice barely steady. She watched as Liz gathered her worn backpack, noticing for the first time how the strap was carefully mended with neat stitches. "It was no trouble," Liz replied warmly, adjusting her simple cotton blouse. "Sometimes babies just need a different pair of arms. You're doing great with him, Maya." The kindness in Liz's voice made Maya's chest tighten. How could this woman show such genuine compassion to the daughter of the man who had contributed to her family's destruction? The terminal's fluorescent lights seemed harsh and unforgiving as they stepped into the busy airport. Maya started, then stopped. What could she possibly say? Sorry my father's business decisions ruined your life? The words stuck in her throat. They reached the point where their paths would diverge. Maya to the premium parking area, Liz to public transportation. The contrast wasn't lost on Maya, who shifted uncomfortably in her Louboutins. Take care of that little one, Liz said, giving Caleb one last gentle smile. She hitched her backpack higher on her shoulder and turned toward the airport exit. Maya stood rooted to the spot, watching Liz disappear into the crowd. Around her, the airport buzzed with activity. Business travelers barking into phones, families reuniting, airline staff rushing past. But Maya felt disconnected from it all, as if viewing the scene through frosted glass. In her car, a sleek Mercedes her father had given her for her last birthday, Maya sat motionless behind the wheel. Caleb dozed peacefully in his imported car seat, unaware of his mother's turmoil. The leather-wrapped steering wheel beneath her fingers represented everything she'd taken for granted. Every luxury in her life suddenly had a price tag measured in other people's suffering. The summer house in the Hamptons, bought the year of the merger, her Ivy League education, the trust fund that let her start her own business venture without risk, all of it built on the foundation of ruined lives like Liz's. She thought of her father's frequent lectures about business acumen, how he'd praised her sharp instincts, her ability to spot profitable opportunities. You've got the winter's edge, he'd say proudly. Now she wondered if that edge was just a prettier word for ruthlessness. The parking garage felt suffocating. Maya rolled down her window, needing fresh air. A family walked past her car, a mother and two children, their clothes clearly from a discount store. Once, she might not have noticed them at all. Now she wondered, were they another family affected by corporate restructuring? How many Liz were out there, struggling because of decisions made in boardrooms by people like her father? Her phone buzzed, probably her assistant confirming tomorrow's meetings. Maya ignored it. The business empire she'd been so proud to be part of looked different now. Every merger, every acquisition, every strategic downsizing had faces attached to it. Real people with real lives, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. I have to make this right, she whispered to the quiet car. But the words felt hollow. How could she possibly compensate for years of hardship? What could possibly make up for a father abandoning his family, for a community destroyed by corporate greed? Maya started her car, the engine purring to life with expensive German precision. As she navigated out of the parking garage, her mind raced with the weight of her newfound awareness. The city skyline spread before her, dominated by the gleaming Winters International Tower, a monument to success built on the foundation of broken dreams. Maya wandered through her penthouse apartment, her heels clicking against the marble floors. Each step echoed in the vast space, emphasizing how empty it felt despite the carefully curated designer furniture and artwork. Caleb slept peacefully in his nursery, monitored by the latest baby surveillance system money could buy. She paused by the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring at the city lights below. The view had always made her feel powerful, like she was literally above it all. Tonight, it just made her feel isolated. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman she barely recognized. Perfectly styled hair, expertly tailored clothes, but eyes filled with uncertainty. In her home office, she settled into her ergonomic chair and opened her laptop. The Winters International logo glowed on the screen, a symbol of success she'd once worn like a crown. Now it felt more like a burden. She typed her father's name into the search bar, scanning through articles about his business achievements. Winters International announces major restructuring, one headline read from 5 years ago. Maya clicked through, her stomach tightening as she read about the necessary workforce reductions and strategic consolidation of resources. The corporate speak couldn't mask the truth. These were people's lives being dismantled with the stroke of a pen. She thought of Liz's father, wondering if his name was buried somewhere in those sterile press releases. How many others had there been? How many families had crumbled while the Winters' fortune grew? Moving to her walk-in closet, Maya ran her fingers along rows of designer clothes. Each piece probably cost more than what Liz earned in a week. The shelf of handbags alone could probably fund a child's college education. She thought of Liz's carefully mended backpack and felt a wave of shame. In the kitchen, she opened her Sub-Zero refrigerator, stocked by her personal chef. The abundance of organic, premium ingredients suddenly seemed obscene. She remembered how Liz had mentioned working 2 jobs. Was one of them to put food on the table? Maya's phone buzzed with a message from her father. "Great news about the Thompson merger. Should add significant value to our portfolio. Proud of you, princess." She stared at the message, remembering how those words would have once filled her with pride. Now they raised questions she couldn't ignore. How many more Liz would this merger create? How many more families would struggle while the Winters empire grew stronger? Returning to the living room, Maya sank into her Italian leather sofa. The same thoughts kept circling in her mind. She had to do something, not just about Liz, but about the whole system she was part of. The question was, what? Her eyes fell on Caleb's baby photo on the coffee table. He looked so innocent, unaware of the privilege he was born into. What kind of world did she want him to inherit? What kind of person did she want him to become? With trembling fingers, Maya picked up her phone. She still had Liz's number. They'd exchanged contact information on the plane, though Maya suspected Liz had only done so out of politeness. She stared at the number for several long moments, gathering her courage. Finally, she pressed dial. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Maya's heart pounded with each ring. Just as she was about to give up, there was a click. "Hello?" Liz's voice sounded tired, probably from a long day of work. "Liz, it's Maya from the plane." Maya's voice wavered slightly. "I hope I'm not calling too late." "No, I just got home from my evening shift," Liz replied, a note of surprise in her voice. "I was wondering, would you be willing to meet with me? For coffee, maybe?" Maya held her breath, waiting for the response. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity before Liz finally spoke. "I don't need charity, Maya." "It's not charity," Maya rushed to explain. I'd really like to talk. Please?" Another pause, shorter this time. "All right," Liz agreed, though she sounded hesitant. "But it will have to be next week. I'm working double shifts until then." Maya arrived early at the small coffee shop, deliberately choosing a place far from her usual upscale haunts. The worn leather seats and chipped mugs felt more authentic, more like the world Liz inhabited. She dressed down in jeans and a simple sweater, trying not to draw attention to herself. Through the window she watched Liz approach. Even tired from what must have been another long shift, Liz carried herself with dignity. Her clothes were clean but well worn, her hands showing signs of hard work. She spotted Maya and entered, the bell above the door announcing her arrival. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Maya said, standing to greet her. Liz slid into the seat across from her. "I almost didn't." Her tone was direct, but not unkind. "Look, Maya, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but please," Maya interrupted gently. "Let me get you a coffee first." After a moment's hesitation, Liz nodded. "Black coffee, nothing fancy." Maya returned with their drinks, a plain black coffee for Liz and a latte for herself. The difference in their orders felt symbolic somehow. "I wanted to apologize," Maya began, wrapping her hands around her cup. "Not just for what happened with your father's job, but for my ignorance. I've been thinking a lot about privilege since our flight." Liz took a sip of her coffee, studying Maya over the rim. "You don't need to apologize for being born rich." "Maybe not," Maya agreed, "but I need to understand more. About people's real lives, not just what I see from my office tower." "And I'm your case study?" There was an edge to Liz's voice. Maya shook her head quickly. "No, you're someone who opened my eyes, someone who showed me what real strength looks like." The compliment seemed to catch Liz off guard. She set down her cup, her expression softening slightly. "Listen, Maya, I appreciate that you're trying to understand, but our worlds are just different." "Tell me about your world," Maya said softly. "Please." Liz was quiet for a moment, then began to speak. She told Maya about growing up watching her mother work 3 jobs after her father left, about learning to cook at age 10 because her mom was too exhausted, about babysitting neighborhood kids to earn money for school supplies. Maya listened, really listened, feeling the weight of each story. She learned about Liz's current routine: morning shifts at a diner, evening work at a retail store, somehow still finding time to help her son with homework. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy," Liz said firmly. "This is just life for most people." "It shouldn't have to be," Maya replied. "I want to help." Liz's posture stiffened. "I don't need a handout." "Not a handout," Maya insisted. "An opportunity, a chance to—" "To what?" Liz cut in. "To ease your conscience? To feel good about helping the poor single mom?" "No," Maya said, meeting Liz's gaze steadily. "To right a wrong, to make a difference, to learn from someone who knows more about real life than I ever will." The honesty in Maya's voice seemed to reach Liz. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, though wariness remained in her eyes. "I've worked for everything I have," Liz said quietly but firmly. "My independence matters to me." "I understand that," Maya replied, "and I respect it. But maybe there's a way we could work together, as equals." Liz traced the rim of her coffee cup with one finger, considering Maya's words. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken thoughts and hesitations. "I'll think about it," Liz finally said. "That's all I can promise right now." Maya nodded, knowing it was the best she could hope for at this moment. The gap between their worlds wouldn't be bridged in one coffee meeting, but at least they'd started building the foundation. Maya stirred her cooling latte, gathering her thoughts. The morning crowd had thinned out, leaving them in a pocket of relative quiet. Through the window, autumn leaves skittered across the sidewalk, a reminder of how quickly time was passing. "There must be something I can do," Maya said, her voice soft but determined. "Something that wouldn't compromise your independence." Liz's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. "Maya, I appreciate the thought, but you don't understand. Every single thing I own, every achievement, every milestone, I worked for those. When my son needed braces, I picked up extra shifts. When our car broke down, I learned basic repairs from YouTube videos. That's my life." "And you're proud of that strength," Maya acknowledged, noting how Liz's chin lifted slightly at the mention of her accomplishments. "I am," Liz confirmed. "It's not just pride, though. It's knowing I can handle whatever comes my way, that my son sees me handling it." She paused, taking a sip of coffee. "Accepting help feels like admitting defeat." Maya leaned forward, her expensive watch catching the morning light. "What if accepting help meant creating more opportunities, not just for you, but for others too?" "You're persistent, aren't you?" Liz said, but there was a hint of amusement in her voice. I've been told it's both my best and most annoying quality, Maya replied, with a small smile. The tension between them eased slightly. Liz shifted in her seat, and something in her expression changed, as if she was weighing a decision. "Can I tell you something?" Liz asked, her voice taking on a different tone. "Something I haven't really told anyone?" Maya nodded, careful to keep her expression neutral despite her curiosity. "I've always had this dream," Liz began, her eyes focusing on something distant. "It probably sounds ridiculous, given my situation, but—" She took a deep breath. "I want to start my own business." Maya sat up straighter, but remained silent, not wanting to interrupt the moment. "You know how I work at that diner?" Liz continued, her voice growing animated. "Well, I see so many other single parents there, struggling just like me, working multiple jobs, barely seeing their kids." She shook her head. "I've been thinking, what if there was a place that could be different? A cafe that specifically employs single parents, with flexible schedules built around school hours." As Liz spoke, her usual guarded expression melted away, replaced by genuine excitement. "It wouldn't just be about serving coffee. I want to create a community space where kids could do homework while their parents work, where we could offer basic business classes in the off hours, help people build skills for better jobs." Maya listened intently, watching as Liz's hands moved expressively while she described her vision. "I've been saving," Liz admitted, "every extra dollar for years now, but at this rate—" She let out a hollow laugh. "Well, let's just say my son will probably have kids of his own before I have enough startup capital." Maya felt her heart race with possibilities, but she carefully controlled her reaction. This was exactly the kind of opportunity she'd been hoping for. A chance to help that wouldn't feel like charity, but like investment in someone's dream. "That's actually brilliant," Maya said thoughtfully. "The concept is solid. There's definitely a market need, and the community aspect could create real customer loyalty." Liz blinked, surprised by Maya's business-like assessment. "You think so? I mean, I've done research, created basic projections, but—" "Tell me more," Maya encouraged, pulling out her phone to take notes. "What kind of location were you thinking? What would your staffing model look like?" And Liz did tell her more, her initial hesitation giving way to enthusiasm as she shared details she'd clearly been refining in her mind for years. Her eyes lit up as she described her ideas for a small classroom space in the back, and how she'd already identified several potential suppliers. Maya sat back in her leather office chair, her fingers drumming against her mahogany desk. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse office, but her attention was focused entirely on the notebook in front of her, filled with hastily scribbled notes from her conversation with Liz. She picked up her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found Liz's number. Her thumb hovered over it for a moment before she pressed call. After 3 rings, Liz's voice came through, sounding slightly breathless. "Maya, is everything okay?" "More than okay," Maya replied, trying to contain her excitement. "I've been thinking about your business idea, and I want to help make it happen." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Maya, just hear me out," Maya rushed to continue. "Your concept is solid. It's not just about helping people, it's a viable business model. The social impact angle could qualify for specific grants and funding opportunities." "I told you, I don't want charity," Liz said firmly, but Maya detected a slight waver in her voice. "This isn't charity," Maya insisted, standing up to pace her office. "It's an investment. In you, in your vision, in something that could help countless other families." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "Think of it as a business partnership." "A partnership?" Liz's voice was skeptical. "Between someone who can barely make rent and a millionaire?" Maya winced at the stark contrast Liz painted. Between two mothers who want to make a difference, she corrected gently. Between someone with a brilliant idea and someone with the resources to help make it happen. She heard Liz take a deep breath. I need to think about this. Of course, Maya said quickly. But while you're thinking, would you be willing to meet with a business consultant, just to explore the possibilities? No strings attached. Another pause, longer this time. No strings attached? Liz repeated slowly. None, Maya confirmed. If you decide this isn't what you want, we'll drop it. But if you're interested, I can help you build this the right way. I have conditions, Liz said finally. Maya sat back down, reaching for her pen. I'm listening. If, and this is a big if, we do this, I need complete control over the business operations. No interference from you or your family's company. Agreed, Maya said without hesitation. And I want everything in writing. Every detail, every agreement, everything transparent and clear. Maya was already writing these points down. Absolutely. We can have lawyers draw up whatever documents you want. And, Liz's voice softened slightly, I need to know this isn't just about you feeling guilty about your father's company. Maya's pen stopped moving. She closed her eyes, considering her response carefully. It started there, she admitted. But this is about so much more now. Your idea could change lives, Liz, including mine. She heard Liz exhale slowly. Okay, she said finally. Let's meet with your business consultant. Maya's heart leaped, but she kept her voice steady. I'll set it up right away. Thank you for trusting me with this, Liz. After they hung up, Maya immediately began researching business consultants who specialized in social enterprise startups. She created a detailed folder on her computer, organizing sections for business plans, potential locations, and funding structures. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she typed out emails to her most trusted advisors. She needed someone who would understand both the business aspect and the social impact of Liz's vision. Someone who could help transform this dream into a concrete reality while respecting Liz's independence. As she worked, Maya felt more energized than she had in years. This wasn't just about making amends or easing her guilt. This was about creating something meaningful, something that could make a real difference in people's lives. She glanced at the clock, realizing she'd been working for hours without noticing the time passing. With renewed focus, she returned to her research, determined to have everything prepared for their meeting with the consultant. This had to be perfect, not just for Liz, but for all the families their venture could help. Liz stared at the medical bill in her hands, her fingers trembling slightly as she read the total again. The numbers seemed to swim before her eyes, mocking her carefully planned budget. Her son had needed emergency dental work last week, a painful abscess that couldn't wait. Even with her insurance, the out-of-pocket expenses were staggering. She sank onto her worn couch, spreading her bills across the coffee table. The rent was due next week, and her son needed new shoes for school. She'd been putting money aside for the business plan. But now... Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Coffee tomorrow. Found a great business consultant. Liz's stomach tightened. She'd been avoiding Maya's calls for the past few days, unsure how to explain her situation. The thought of admitting defeat made her chest ache. She'd allowed herself to hope, to dream of something better. And now reality was crashing back down. The phone buzzed again. Liz, everything okay? Before she could respond, Maya was calling. Liz considered letting it go to voicemail, but finally answered on the third ring. Hey, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. You've been avoiding me, Maya said, not accusingly, but with concern. What's going on? Liz closed her eyes, pressing her fingers to her temple. I got hit with an unexpected bill. My son needed emergency dental work and—" She trailed off, the words sticking in her throat. "How much?" Maya asked immediately. "Maya, no," Liz said firmly. "That's not why I'm telling you this. I don't think I can move forward with the business plan right now. I need to focus on keeping our heads above water." "Let me help," Maya insisted. "We've already started planning. You can't give up now." Liz gathered the bills into a pile, her movements sharp with frustration. "This isn't about giving up. It's about being realistic. I can't take on any more risk right now. I can barely make ends meet as it is." "That's exactly why we need to move forward," Maya countered. "Your business plan could change everything. We just need to get you through this rough patch." "There's always going to be a rough patch," Liz said, her voice cracking slightly. "That's my life, Maya. One emergency after another. Always trying to catch up. I can't drag you into this mess." She heard Maya take a deep breath. "You're not dragging me anywhere. I'm here because I want to be, because I believe in you and your vision. We can figure this out together." "You don't understand," Liz said, standing up to pace her small living room. "This isn't just about money. It's about stability, security. I can't risk what little we have on a dream." "But that's exactly what this business could give you. Stability, security, a better future for your son," Maya pressed. "The consultant I found specializes in helping single parents start businesses. She understands the challenges you're facing." Liz stopped pacing, looking at the family photo on her wall. Her son's bright smile, his future hanging in the balance. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly. "I'm scared of failing, of making things worse." "I know," Maya said softly. "And that's okay. But you don't have to do this alone. Let's at least meet with the consultant. If you still want to walk away after that, I'll understand." Liz sank back onto the couch, her eyes falling on the pile of bills. "I don't want your charity, Maya." "This isn't charity," Maya insisted. "It's an investment in your future, in your son's future. We'll figure out the financial details together, find a way that works for both of us." After a long moment, Liz whispered, "I really wanted this to work." "It still can," Maya said firmly. "Promise me you won't give up yet. Promise me you'll at least meet with the consultant." Liz picked up the business plan she'd been working on, running her fingers over the pages. "Okay," she said finally. "I'll meet with the consultant, but I'm not making any promises beyond that." "That's all I'm asking for," Maya replied, relief evident in her voice. "We'll figure this out together. Liz, I promise." Maya chose a quiet cafe for the meeting, arriving early to secure a corner table away from the morning rush. She watched through the window as Liz approached, her shoulders tense, clutching her worn leather bag like a shield. The business consultant, Sarah Chen, sat across from Maya, spreading out several documents with practiced efficiency. "She's nervous," Maya murmured, more to herself than Sarah. "Most first-time entrepreneurs are," Sarah replied with a knowing smile. "Our job is to show her it's possible." Liz entered the cafe, scanning the room until she spotted them. Maya stood to wave her over, noting how Liz's hands fidgeted with the strap of her bag as she approached. "Liz, this is Sarah Chen," Maya introduced them. "She's helped dozens of small business owners get started, especially single parents." Sarah extended her hand with a warm smile. "It's wonderful to meet you, Liz. Maya's told me about your vision for a mobile beauty service." Liz shook her hand tentatively, settling into the chair between them. "I appreciate you taking the time, but I'm not sure—" "Let's just talk," Sarah suggested, pulling out a notepad. "No commitments. Tell me about your experience in the beauty industry." As Liz began speaking about her years as a stylist, her posture gradually relaxed. She described the regular clients who followed her between salons, the elderly customers who struggled to leave their homes for appointments, the working mothers who could never find convenient times. "There's a real need," Liz explained, her voice growing animated. People want personalized service, but the current options are either too expensive or unreliable. Sarah nodded, taking notes. And you've already built a loyal client base. That's incredibly valuable. She pulled out a market analysis report. The mobile beauty service sector has grown 30% in the last 2 years. Your timing is excellent. Maya watched as Sarah walked them through the numbers, breaking down startup costs, projected revenue, and growth potential. She presented everything clearly, answering Liz's questions with patience and precision. The initial investment is substantial, Sarah acknowledged, but there are several funding options we can explore. Small business loans, grants specifically for women entrepreneurs. And I'm prepared to be your primary investor, Maya added softly. Liz's head snapped up. Maya, we talked about this. As a legitimate business partner, Maya continued, with clear terms and expectations, Sarah can help us structure it properly. Sarah pulled out another document. I've drafted a preliminary partnership agreement that protects both your interests. Liz maintains majority control and creative direction. Maya provides capital and business development support. Liz studied the paper, her brow furrowed. This all seems too good to be true. It's not without risks, Sarah said frankly. Every business venture has them, but you have experience, market demand, and a solid support system. Those are crucial advantages. She walked them through a timeline, explaining each phase of development. We'll start small, with your existing clients. Test the mobile service model, refine the logistics, then expand gradually as we validate the concept. Maya watched Liz's expression shift from skepticism to consideration as Sarah outlined the plan. The consultant's practical approach seemed to resonate with Liz's pragmatic nature. What about my current job? Liz asked. I can't just quit. We'll structure the transition, Sarah assured her. Start with weekend appointments, gradually build up the client base. You can reduce your regular hours as the business grows. For the first time since they'd sat down, Liz's shoulders completely relaxed. She leaned forward, asking more detailed questions about scheduling, equipment, and marketing strategies. Sarah answered each one thoroughly, providing examples from similar businesses she'd helped to launch. Maya sat back, feeling a warm surge of satisfaction as she watched Liz become more engaged in the discussion. The spark of possibility was there in her eyes, growing stronger with each answer Sarah provided. Would you like to schedule a follow-up meeting? Sarah asked, as she gathered her materials. We can start working on a detailed business plan. Liz glanced at Maya, then back to Sarah. Yes, she said softly, then more firmly. Yes, I would. Maya watched as Liz spread her collection of beauty products across the coffee shop table, each item carefully arranged like pieces on a chessboard. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, catching the metallic packaging and creating tiny rainbows on the polished wood surface. These are my most requested products, Liz explained, her fingers trailing over the familiar bottles and tubes. I've been keeping track of what clients ask for most often. Maya nodded, impressed by Liz's methodical approach. You've really thought this through. Had to, Liz replied, picking up a high-end hair serum. When you're working with limited resources, you learn to be strategic. She paused, a shadow crossing her face. Tommy, my son, he needs new shoes every few months now, growing like a weed. Maya smiled, thinking of her own son. Caleb's just starting to crawl. I can't imagine keeping up with a running child. Oh, just wait, Liz laughed, her eyes crinkling at the corners. Tommy used to sprint down grocery store aisles. Nearly gave me a heart attack every time. They settled into a comfortable rhythm, discussing business logistics while sharing snippets of their lives. Maya took notes as Liz described her regular clients' preferences and scheduling challenges. Mrs. Henderson, Liz said, She's 82 and can't drive anymore. Her daughter brings her to the salon, but it's such an ordeal. She'd be perfect for the mobile service. We should start building a preliminary client list, Maya suggested, pulling out her laptop. Maybe categorize them by location and service needs? Liz nodded enthusiastically, then hesitated. I have to pick up Tommy from after-school care at 4. She checked her watch nervously. We can work around your schedule, Maya assured her. That's the whole point of this business, right? Flexibility for everyone. Relief washed over Liz's face. It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm always choosing between being a good mother and building a future. You're doing both, Maya said firmly. And you're doing it well. They spent the next hour creating a detailed spreadsheet, mapping out potential service areas and client demographics. Liz's practical experience complemented Maya's business acumen perfectly. Look at this, Maya pointed to the screen. If we cluster appointments by neighborhood, you could serve more clients while spending less time traveling. And save on gas, Liz added, her eyes lighting up. That's been killing my budget lately. As they worked, Liz gradually shared more about her life with Tommy, their weekend traditions of making pancakes together, his growing interest in soccer, the creative ways she stretched their budget to give him special experiences. Last month, she said, smiling at the memory, I couldn't afford the school field trip fee, so I learned to make his favorite pizza from scratch instead. We had a movie night with homemade everything. Maya felt a familiar twist of guilt, thinking of Caleb's nursery filled with expensive toys. But she recognized the pride in Liz's voice. This wasn't a story of deprivation, but of resourcefulness and love. Their planning session was interrupted by Maya's phone buzzing. She checked the message and broke into a wide smile. Sarah just heard back from the Small Business Association, she announced. They're interested in reviewing your proposal for their Women Entrepreneur Grant program. Liz's hands flew to her mouth. Really? But we just submitted it yesterday. They're specifically looking for innovative service models, Maya explained, reading the message. Your focus on accessibility and community needs caught their attention. Impulsively, Liz reached across the table and squeezed Maya's hand. I couldn't have done this without you, she said softly. Thank you for believing in me. Maya squeezed back, touched by the genuine warmth in Liz's voice. Gone was the guarded skepticism from their early interactions, replaced by trust and friendship. We should celebrate, Maya suggested. Quick coffee before you get Tommy? Liz checked her watch and grinned. Make it a double espresso. I'm going to need the energy. It's soccer practice night. They walked to the counter together, their conversation flowing easily between business plans and motherhood stories, no longer divided by their different circumstances, but united by shared dreams and understanding. Maya's heels clicked against the marble floor of her father's executive office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, a constant reminder of their family's power and influence. Her father, Richard Sterling, sat behind his massive mahogany desk, his silver hair perfectly styled, his custom suit immaculate as always. Darling, he greeted, not looking up from his computer screen. What's this urgent matter you needed to discuss? Maya took a deep breath, smoothing her silk blouse. Dad, I wanted to tell you about a business venture I'm involved in. Oh? Now he looked up, interest flickering in his steel-gray eyes. Finally ready to take your place in Sterling Corp? Not exactly. Maya perched on one of the leather chairs facing his desk. I'm helping a small business owner get started. A mobile beauty service. Richard's eyebrows rose. Beauty service? Maya, we're in real estate and corporate acquisitions. What could you possibly gain from such a modest venture? It's not about gain, Dad. It's about doing something meaningful. Maya leaned forward. The woman I'm helping, Liz, She's incredibly talented and hardworking. She just needs an opportunity. Liz? Richard's fingers stilled on his keyboard. Does this woman have a last name? Maya hesitated. Martinez. Elizabeth Martinez. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Richard's face hardened as recognition dawned. Martinez? As in David Martinez's daughter? Yes, Maya admitted. But Dad? Absolutely not. Richard stood abruptly, his chair rolling back. That family tried to destroy everything we built. David Martinez led that ridiculous employee protest when we restructured the company. He nearly cost us millions. He was fighting for workers' rights, Maya shot back. And his daughter had nothing to do with it. She was just a child when it happened. A child whose father spread lies about our family. Richard's voice rose. And now you're what? Trying to make amends? We did nothing wrong, Maya. Business is business. Business destroyed her family. Maya stood too, anger burning in her chest. Liz has worked multiple jobs since she was 16. She's raising a son alone while you sit in this tower making more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. Richard's face flushed red. Watch your tone, young lady. Everything I've built, I built for you. Our name means something in this city. And now you want to throw it all away on some misguided charity case? It's not charity, Maya insisted. It's investment in someone who deserves a chance. And our name? Maybe it's time it meant something more than just money and power. This is that baby of yours making you soft, Richard scoffed. Ever since Caleb was born, you've lost your edge. The Maya I raised would never... The Maya you raised is standing right here, she cut him off. But now I'm also a mother who understands that success means nothing if it comes at the cost of other people's lives. Richard planted his hands on his desk, leaning forward. I'm warning you, Maya. If you continue this foolish crusade, there will be consequences. I won't have the sterling name associated with the Martinez family. What are you going to do? Maya challenged. Cut me off? Go ahead. I have my own money. Money you earned through this family's connections, he reminded her sharply. Don't test me on this, Maya. I'm trying to protect you. No. Maya shook her head, gathering her purse. You're trying to control me. But I'm not backing down on this, Dad. Liz deserves this chance, and I'm going to help her take it. Richard's expression turned cold. Then you're no daughter of mine. The words hit Maya like a physical blow, but she straightened her spine. If that's how you feel, so be it. She turned and walked towards the door, her hands shaking but her steps steady. Behind her, her father's voice rang out one last time. When this blows up in your face, don't come crying to me. Maya pulled the door open, fighting back tears. She'd known this conversation would be difficult, but the reality of her father's reaction still stung. As she walked through the executive floor, past familiar faces that now seemed like strangers, Maya felt the weight of her decision pressing down on her shoulders. Maya stared at her phone as it buzzed on her desk, her father's name flashing across the screen. She'd been expecting this call since leaving his office yesterday, but that didn't make it any easier. Taking a deep breath, she answered. Hello, Dad. Have you reconsidered your position? His voice was cold, businesslike, as if discussing a corporate merger rather than their relationship. Maya watched the city lights twinkle through her office window. There's nothing to reconsider. Don't be naive, he snapped. You're throwing away everything for someone you barely know, someone whose family tried to destroy us. That's not true, and you know it. Maya's fingers tightened around her phone. Liz was just a child when all that happened. She's worked hard her entire life, harder than I've ever had to. And that's my fault? Richard's voice rose. Should I apologize for giving you a good life? For making sure you never wanted for anything? Maya closed her eyes, fighting back tears. No, Dad. But maybe it's time we used our privilege to help others instead of just protecting it. Help others? He scoffed. Is that what you think you're doing? You're being manipulated, Maya. The Martinez girl sees you as nothing more than a walking checkbook. The accusation stung. Maya thought of Liz's initial reluctance to accept help, her fierce independence, her dedication to her son. You don't know her at all. I know her type, Richard countered, and I know what's best for this family. You have 24 hours to end this ridiculous venture, or you can consider yourself cut off. No more access to family accounts, no more connections, no more sterling name. Maya's stomach churned. She thought of her comfortable life, the doors that had always opened for her, the safety net she'd never been without. Then she thought of Liz, working multiple jobs, never complaining, fighting for a better future for her son. You raised me to stand up for what I believe in, Maya said quietly, to be strong and independent. I raised you to be smart, Richard's voice thundered through the phone. To protect what's ours. And what about protecting others? Maya stood, pacing her office. What about using our power to make a difference? Power? Richard laughed bitterly. You think you have power? Everything you have, everything you are, comes from this family, from me. Maya stopped at her window, looking down at the city below. Somewhere out there, Liz was probably at work, maybe serving coffee or cleaning offices, dreaming of the business she could build. No, Dad, Maya said firmly. What I am comes from inside me, and right now, I'm choosing to be someone who helps others, not someone who tears them down. Silence stretched between them, heavy with decades of expectations and disappointment. Then you've made your choice, Richard said finally, his voice ice cold. Don't expect any support from this family moving forward. You're on your own. Maya's heart cracked, but her voice remained steady. If that's how it has to be. It is. The line went dead. Maya lowered her phone, her hand trembling. Tears spilled down her cheeks as the weight of what had just happened settled over her. She'd just lost her family, her safety net, her identity as a sterling. But as she wiped her eyes, Maya felt something else beneath the pain, a sense of rightness, of purpose. For the first time in her life, she was standing up for something bigger than herself, bigger than the sterling name. She thought of Liz's determination, her resilience in the face of hardship. If Liz could build a life from nothing, Maya could learn to live without her father's empire. She might be losing the sterling name, but she was gaining something far more valuable, the chance to make a real difference in someone's life. Maya arranged the papers carefully on the coffee shop table, her designer laptop open beside them. She'd chosen this location deliberately. It was where Liz worked her morning shift, and Maya knew it would make her feel more comfortable. The morning rush had ended, leaving them in relative quiet. Liz slid into the seat across from her, still wearing her green barista apron. Sorry, just needed to finish up with a customer. No problem, Maya smiled, pushing a fresh latte toward her. I ordered your favorite. Liz's eyes softened at the gesture. You remembered. She took a sip, then gestured to the stack of papers. So these are all the documents? Maya nodded, spreading them out. Business plan, projected financials, lease agreements for the space we looked at? She paused, watching Liz's expression carefully. I know it's overwhelming. A little, Liz admitted, picking up the business plan. Her hands trembled slightly. I keep thinking this can't be real, that it's too good to be true. Maya leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. It's real, Liz, and you deserve this chance. You've worked harder than anyone I know. Liz set down the papers, meeting Maya's gaze. What about your father? I heard through the grapevine that he's not happy about this. Maya's chest tightened, but she kept her voice steady. My father's opinions are his own. This isn't about him. It's about us, about building something meaningful. But you're risking everything, Liz persisted. Your inheritance, your family. Some things are worth the risk. Maya pulled out the property photos they'd taken last week. Look at this space, Liz. Can't you see it? Your cafe designed exactly the way you want it. A place where single mothers can bring their kids, where the community can gather. Liz's eyes lit up as she looked at the photos. I can see it, she whispered. I've been seeing it in my dreams for years. She traced the storefront window in the picture. Right here, we could put a little reading nook for kids. Maya grinned, pulling out her tablet. I sketched some layout ideas. What if we put the counter here, she pointed, and created a play area in this corner. Moms could keep an eye on their kids while enjoying their coffee. For the next hour, they pored over the plans together. Liz's initial hesitation melted away as they discussed menu items, decor choices, and staffing needs. Her passion shone through as she described the welcoming atmosphere she wanted to create. We'll need to hire other single mothers, Liz said firmly. Offer flexible schedules, fair wages. I want to give others the chance I never had. Maya nodded, making notes. We can set up a training program, maybe partner with local organizations that support single parents. You really believe we can do this? Liz asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. Maya reached across the table, squeezing Liz's hand. I don't just believe it, I know it. You have the vision and the experience. I have the business knowledge and resources. Together, we're unstoppable. Liz squeezed back, tears glistening in her eyes. Thank you, Maya. Not just for the investment, but for believing in me, for seeing me as more than just someone who needs help. You're my partner in this, Maya said firmly. Equal voices, equal input. Deal? Liz nodded, wiping her eyes. Deal. Maya pulled out 2 copies of the partnership agreement. Then let's make it official. They both signed the documents, their signatures side by side on the paper. Maya felt a surge of pride as she watched Liz carefully write her name. This wasn't just a business deal, it was the beginning of something transformative for both of them. Partners? Maya held out her hand. Liz grasped it firmly, her smile bright and determined. Partners. Together they began sorting through the implementation timeline, marking important dates and deadlines. The dream was becoming reality, one signature at a time. Liz's hands shook as she stared at the email on her phone screen. The fluorescent lights of the empty cafe seemed too harsh, making her head pound. She read the message again, hoping the words would somehow change. They pulled out, she whispered, her voice cracking. Just like that. Maya, who had been reviewing supply chain contracts at their usual corner table, looked up. What? Who pulled out? Morgan Financial. Liz sank into the chair across from Maya, her shoulders slumping. They were supposed to provide 40% of our startup funding. The email says they're pursuing other investment opportunities. She let out a bitter laugh. 3 days before we're supposed to sign the lease. Maya set down her pen, her brow furrowing. Let me see that. Liz handed over her phone, watching as Maya's expression darkened. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across their paperwork, blueprints, permits, and vendor contracts that now seemed pointless. This is ridiculous, Maya muttered, scrolling through the email. They gave us their word. We have everything in place, the location, the permits, the business plan, everything checked out in their due diligence. Maybe they found out about my background, Liz said quietly, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. A single mom with no college degree isn't exactly their typical investment. Stop that, Maya said firmly. Your experience and vision are worth 10 times more than some fancy degree. She started typing furiously on her laptop. We'll find another investor. I have contacts. Maya. Liz's voice was tired. We've been working on this for months. The lease needs to be signed by Friday. Even if we found someone interested, there's no way they could do their due diligence in time. She stood up, walking to the window. Maybe this is a sign. Maybe I was crazy to think I could do this. Don't you dare give up. Maya's chair scraped against the floor as she stood. Not after everything we've done. Not after how far we've come. What choice do I have? Liz turned, tears threatening to spill. I can't sign that lease without secure funding. I have my son to think about. If this fails, it won't fail. Maya walked over to her, determination blazing in her eyes. Because I'm going to fund it. Liz blinked. What? I'll cover Morgan Financial's portion. More than that. I'll fund the entire thing if I need to. Maya, no. Liz shook her head. That's too much. You've already risked enough going against your father. I can't let you— You're not letting me do anything, Maya interrupted. This is my choice. I believe in this business, Liz. I believe in you. She walked back to the table, pulling out her laptop. I've been wanting to do this from the beginning, but I knew you wouldn't accept it. You wanted to prove you could get traditional investors, and you did. The other backers are still in. But now we need this, and I'm not going to let your pride stop us. Liz watched as Maya began pulling up banking information. But your father is going to be angry no matter what I do, Maya finished. At least this way, I'm angry for the right reasons. She looked up, her expression softening. This isn't charity, Liz. This is an investment in something I believe in, something that's going to change lives. Liz felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep fighting. Say you won't give up. Maya stood, walking over to grasp Liz's hands. Say you'll be my partner in this, all the way. Looking into Maya's eyes, Liz saw nothing but sincerity and determination. She thought about all their plans, the reading corner for kids, the flexible schedules for single-parent employees, the community programs they wanted to run. It wasn't just her dream anymore. It had become their shared vision. Okay, Liz whispered, squeezing Maya's hands. Okay, let's do this. Maya pulled her into a tight hug. Partners? Liz nodded against her shoulder, her voice stronger now. Partners. They spent the next hour reorganizing their funding structure, Maya's fingers flying over the keyboard as she made the necessary arrangements. The morning sun climbed higher, warming the room, and Liz felt something settle in her chest. Not just relief, but a deep, unwavering certainty that they were on the right path. Maya's heels clicked against the marble floor of her father's office building. Each step echoed through the vast lobby, matching her thundering heartbeat. The security guard nodded respectfully as she passed, but she barely noticed. Her mind was consumed by the text message that had brought her here. My office, now, this ends today. The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. Maya caught her reflection in the polished steel walls, designer suit perfectly pressed, not a hair out of place. The image of success her father had crafted for her since childhood. But now, all she saw was a costume that no longer fit. When the doors opened, her father's secretary immediately waved her through. He's waiting for you, Miss Wright. Maya paused at the heavy wooden doors, took a deep breath, and entered. Her father stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, hands clasped behind his back, overlooking the city he'd spent decades conquering. Close the door, he said without turning around. Maya did as instructed, then waited. The silence stretched between them like a rubber band ready to snap. Finally, he turned. The paperwork is ready. He gestured to a thick folder on his desk. Sign it, and this nonsense with that woman ends today. Maya didn't move. That woman has a name. It's Liz. I don't care what her name is. His voice remained eerily calm. What I care about is protecting everything we've built, everything I've given you. Given me. Maya felt heat rise in her chest. You mean everything you've controlled, every decision, every move, every relationship, all carefully selected to benefit right industries? Because I know what's best for you. His composure cracked slightly. I've spent your entire life preparing you to take over this company, and now you want to throw it all away for some charity case? Liz isn't a charity case, Maya shot back. She's a brilliant businesswoman who never got the chances I did. The chances your company took away from her family. Her father's face darkened. So that's what this is about? Guilt? You want to play savior to ease your conscience? No. Maya stepped forward, her voice steady. This is about doing what's right, about using our privilege to help others instead of crushing them. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You sound like a naive child. Business isn't about helping others, it's about survival, about winning. Maybe that's the problem. Maya moved to his desk, picked up the folder, and read its contents. It was worse than she'd imagined, not just demanding she end her partnership with Liz, but requiring her to sign over control of her trust fund, her voting shares, everything. Sign it, her father said. Sign it, and you keep everything you've ever known. Your lifestyle, your position, your future. He paused. Your family. Maya looked up at him, really looked at him. She saw the powerful man who'd shaped her world, taught her everything she knew about business. But she also saw something else now. Fear. Fear of change, of losing control, of watching his perfectly ordered world shift into something he couldn't manage. I love you, Dad, she said softly. But I can't sign this. Maya. No. She placed the folder back on his desk. You taught me to trust my instincts in business. Well, my instincts are telling me this is right. Liz's business plan is solid. Her vision is innovative, and yes, helping her matters to me. Then you leave me no choice. His voice turned to ice. Walk away now, and you lose everything. Your trust fund, your position, your apartment, all of it. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them away. No, Dad. You're the one losing something today. She turned and walked towards the door, each step feeling lighter than the last. Behind her, she heard her father call out, Maya Elizabeth Wright, don't you dare walk away from me! But she kept walking, pushing through the heavy doors, past the startled secretary, into the elevator. As it descended, a weight lifted from her shoulders. The weight of expectations, of predetermined paths, of living someone else's dream. The morning sun streamed through the freshly cleaned windows of Sweet Comfort Cafe, casting warm patches of light across the polished wooden tables. Liz stood behind the counter, adjusting her apron for the 10th time, her fingers trembling slightly as she arranged the display of freshly baked pastries. Maya leaned against the doorframe, watching her friend fuss over every detail. The cafe looked perfect, a harmonious blend of modern comfort and homey charm, exactly as Liz had envisioned it. The walls, painted in soft sage green, displayed local artwork. Cozy armchairs invited customers to sink in and stay a while. The sign's crooked, Liz muttered, stepping out from behind the counter. It's perfectly straight, Maya assured her, grabbing Liz's shoulders gently. Everything is perfect. Stop worrying. A young couple approached the door, peering through the glass. Liz's eyes widened. Our first customers. Ready? Maya squeezed her friend's hand. Liz took a deep breath and nodded. The bell above the door chimed as the couple entered, bringing with them the crisp morning air. Welcome to Sweet Comfort, Liz said, her voice warm and steady despite her nerves. What can I get for you today? Maya watched as Liz guided them through the menu, describing her signature cinnamon rolls with such enthusiasm that the couple ordered 2, along with large lattes. As Liz worked the espresso machine, a top-of-the-line model Maya had insisted on, more customers began trickling in. A businessman in a sharp suit ordered a breakfast sandwich to go. A group of college students claimed the corner table, pulling out laptops and textbooks. 2 elderly ladies settled into the armchairs by the window, cooing over the delicate china teacups. By mid-morning, the cafe hummed with conversation and the rich aroma of coffee. Liz moved with growing confidence, remembering customers' names, suggesting pairings, making each person feel special. This was her element, creating not just a business, but a community. During a brief lull, Liz joined Maya at a small table near the kitchen. Her cheeks were flushed with excitement, her eyes bright. "I can't believe this is really happening," Liz said, cradling a cup of tea. "Sometimes I think I'm dreaming." "You earned this," Maya replied. "Every bit of it." Liz glanced around her cafe, her dream made real. "I never thought I'd get here. When you first offered to help, I was so scared to accept. Scared of owing someone, of losing control. And now? Now I understand that accepting help doesn't make you weak. It takes strength to let others in." Liz reached across the table, squeezing Maya's hand. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I pushed you away." Maya thought about her father, about the empire she'd walked away from. The pain was still fresh, but sitting here, watching Liz's dream unfold, she knew she'd made the right choice. "You taught me something too," Maya said, "about what really matters. Money, status, they're nothing compared to making a real difference in someone's life." The bell chimed again as more customers entered. Liz stood, straightening her apron. "Back to work. These pastries won't serve themselves." Maya watched as Liz greeted the new arrivals with genuine warmth. She remembered their first meeting on the plane, how fate had brought together 2 women from different worlds. Now here they were, celebrating not just the launch of a business, but the power of friendship to transform lives. The morning light caught the grand opening banner hanging in the window, making the letters sparkle. Sweet Comfort Cafe was more than just a business. It was a testament to determination, to taking chances, to believing in dreams. And as Maya watched Liz work her magic with the customers, she knew this was just the beginning. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows through Sweet Comfort Cafe's windows as Liz wiped down the last table. The day's rush had ended, leaving behind the lingering scent of coffee and freshly baked goods. She hummed softly, pleased with another successful day, when the bell above the door chimed. "Sorry, we're closing." Liz's voice trailed off as she turned. Her hands gripped the cleaning cloth tighter, knuckles turning white. Standing in the doorway was her father, Robert Miller, looking older and grayer than she remembered. "Hello, Elizabeth," he said softly, his voice carrying the same gentle tone she remembered from her childhood. He stood awkwardly, hands stuffed in the pockets of his worn jacket. Liz's throat tightened. "Dad." The word felt foreign on her tongue. "What are you doing here?" "I saw the article in the local paper about your cafe opening." He gestured to the space around them. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." Liz flinched at the endearment. "It's been 15 years, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. 15 years without a word. Robert's shoulders slumped. "I know. I've been a coward." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. Liz's hands trembled as she pulled out 2 chairs. "Sit," she said finally. "Would you like some coffee?" "That would be nice." Liz moved behind the counter, grateful for the familiar routine of grinding beans and operating the espresso machine. It gave her hands something to do, her mind somewhere to focus besides the man sitting at her table, the man who had walked away when she needed him most. She returned with 2 cups of coffee, setting one before her father. The rich aroma filled the space between them. "I saw your son outside earlier," Robert said. "He looks just like you did at that age." "His name is Tommy," Liz said, a protective edge in her voice. "He's 12 now." "I know I've missed so much." Robert stared into his coffee cup. "After the company went under, after your mother left, I couldn't face my failures. I couldn't face you. I needed you," Liz's voice cracked. "I was 19, pregnant, and terrified. Mom was gone, and you just disappeared." Robert's eyes glistened with tears. "I convinced myself you were better off without me. I was drowning in debt, in shame. Everything I'd built, everything I'd promised to give you, it all fell apart." "I didn't need things," Liz said, her hands wrapped tightly around her coffee cup. "I needed my father. I know that now." Robert reached across the table, hesitating before pulling back. "Watching you build this place, seeing how strong you've become, it made me realize what really matters. I was wrong to leave. So terribly wrong." Liz felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "Do you know how hard it was? Working 3 jobs, raising Tommy alone, trying to convince him that family means something when his own grandfather couldn't even bother to send a birthday card?" "I can't change the past," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I'm here now, if you'll let me be. I want to know my grandson. I want to make amends." The cafe fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator. Outside, streetlights began to flicker on, casting a soft glow through the windows. Liz studied her father's face, the new wrinkles, the gray hair, the same kind eyes she remembered from childhood. "I'm not that scared 19-year-old anymore," she said finally. "I've built a life, a good life, without you. I can't guarantee anything." "I understand," Robert nodded. I needed you to know how sorry I am, how proud I am of the woman you've become, even though I had no part in it." Tears flowed freely now, and Liz didn't bother wiping them away. Years of anger, hurt, and longing crashed over her like waves. But beneath it all, she felt something else, a glimmer of hope, small but persistent. "Maybe," she said softly. "Maybe we could start with Sunday dinners. Once a month. Tommy should know his grandfather." Robert's eyes lit up with cautious hope. "I'd like that very much." Liz stood behind the counter of her bustling cafe, watching with pride as her newest employee, Sarah, carefully crafted a latte. The young single mother's hands trembled slightly, but her determination showed in the focused set of her jaw. "You're doing great," Liz encouraged, noting how Sarah's shoulders relaxed at the praise. "Remember, it's all about confidence and timing." The morning rush was in full swing, with the aroma of freshly ground coffee beans filling the air. Regular customers lined up, many greeting Liz by name. What had started as a small dream had blossomed into something bigger than she'd imagined. "Thanks for giving me this chance," Sarah said quietly during a brief lull. "Most places wouldn't hire someone with no experience and a baby at home." Liz's heart warmed, remembering her own struggles. "Everyone deserves an opportunity," she replied, watching as another of her new hires, Marcus, efficiently cleared tables. He had been homeless just 3 months ago, living in his car while searching for work. The bell above the door chimed, and Maya walked in, looking polished as always in her business attire. Her face lit up when she saw Liz, and she made her way to the counter, dodging the morning crowd. "The place is packed," Maya exclaimed, beaming. "I can hardly believe this is the same cafe we opened 8 months ago." Liz gestured for Sarah to handle the counter and led Maya to a quiet corner table. "Neither can I sometimes," she admitted, sitting down. "But it's working, Maya. Really working." "I can see that." Maya's eyes swept across the cafe, taking in the diverse staff and comfortable atmosphere. "And I hear you've been busy hiring." Liz nodded, warming her hands around her own coffee cup. 5 new employees this month, all people who just needed someone to believe in them. She paused, thinking of her own journey. Like someone did for me. Maya reached across the table, squeezing Liz's hand. "You're doing more than running a business, Liz. You're changing lives." "I'm trying to," Liz said, watching as Marcus showed a new trainee how to operate the dishwasher. "These people, they remind me so much of where I was. Single parents, people who've lost everything, folks just trying to get back on their feet. And you're giving them that chance?" Maya observed, her voice soft with admiration. Liz leaned forward, excitement lighting her features. "I've been thinking about expansion," she confided. "Not just another cafe location, but maybe a training program, something formal, where we could teach business skills, barista certification, customer service, give people real tools to build careers." Maya's eyes widened. "That's brilliant, Liz. We could create a whole network of support." "Exactly." Liz's passion showed in her animated gestures. "Partner with local shelters, community centers. Create a pipeline for people who just need that first step up." Sarah approached their table, more confident now as she delivered Maya's usual order. "Here's your vanilla latte, Miss Wilson." "Thank you, Sarah." Maya smiled warmly. "And please, it's just Maya." As Sarah returned to work, Liz watched her with maternal pride. "She's a natural. In a few months, she'll be ready to train others." "You've built something special here," Maya said, taking a sip of her latte. "Something that matters." Liz felt tears prick at her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you." "No," Maya shook her head firmly. "You had this in you all along. I just helped clear the path a little." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the morning bustle around them. The cafe hummed with life, with hope, second chances, and new beginnings. "So," Maya said finally, pulling out her tablet. "Tell me more about this training program. I think it's time we started planning the next chapter." The autumn sun cast long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Maya's father's office. The space hadn't changed since she was a child. The same heavy mahogany desk, the same leather chairs, the same imposing view of the city skyline. But something felt different today. Robert Wilson stood at the window, his silver hair catching the late afternoon light. His shoulders, usually squared with authority, seemed softer somehow, more human. He turned as Maya entered, and for the first time in months, their eyes met without hostility. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice lacking its usual commanding tone. He gestured to one of the chairs. "Please, sit." Maya settled into the familiar leather seat, smoothing her skirt with hands that weren't quite steady. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. "I saw the article in the Business Journal," he finally said, picking up a magazine from his desk. The cover showed Liz's cafe, with a headline celebrating its success as a model of social enterprise. "They're calling it revolutionary, combining profit with social impact." Maya nodded, waiting. Her father had always taught her that in negotiations, patience was power. Now she used that lesson against him, letting him find his way to what he needed to say. He sat down heavily in his chair, the leather creaking beneath him. "I was wrong," he admitted, the words seeming to cost him something. "About Liz, about the business, about you." Maya's throat tightened. She'd imagined this moment so many times, but now that it was here, she found herself unprepared for the surge of emotions it brought. "I've spent my life building this empire," he continued, gesturing to the view outside. "I thought I was protecting our legacy when I tried to stop you. But watching what you and Liz have created—" He shook his head. "You've shown me there's more than one way to build something meaningful." "Dad," Maya started, but he held up a hand. "Let me finish, please." He leaned forward, his eyes holding a vulnerability she'd never seen before. "I'm sorry, Maya. I'm sorry for threatening to disown you, for trying to control you. I was afraid you were throwing everything away. But you weren't throwing anything away. You were building something new." Maya felt tears pressing against her eyes. "I never wanted to disappoint you," she said softly. "Disappoint me?" He gave a short, harsh laugh. "Maya, you've surpassed me. What you're doing with Liz, it's not just business, it's changing lives. I see that now." Through the window, the city stretched out before them, a landscape they'd both viewed countless times, but were now seeing differently. The silence between them felt less heavy, more contemplative. "I miss you," he admitted. "Sunday dinners, our morning coffee meetings. I miss my daughter." Maya's heart ached at the memory of those easier times. "I miss you too, Dad. But things can't go back to the way they were." "I know." He nodded, acceptance in his expression. "I don't expect them to. But perhaps we can find a new way forward?" Maya studied her father's face, the face that had once seemed so infallible to her. Now she could see the uncertainty there, the hope, the fear. She saw him as he truly was, not just a powerful businessman, but a father trying to bridge the gap he'd created. "I'd like that," she said carefully. "But it will take time, and things will be different." "Different how?" "I need you to respect my choices," she said firmly. "Even when you don't agree with them. I'm not that little girl anymore, Dad. I found my own path." He nodded slowly. "I'm beginning to see that your path might be better than the one I had planned for you." Maya felt the first real smile she'd shared with her father in months tugging at her lips. "Maybe we could start with coffee?" she suggested. "Next week?" "I'd like that," he said, and for a moment she caught a glimpse of the father she remembered from her childhood, the one who used to read her bedtime stories and teach her about the stock market over ice cream cones. They both knew it wouldn't be easy. The hurt and disappointment of the past months couldn't be erased with one conversation. But as they sat there in the fading light, there was a sense of possibility, of a new kind of relationship forming from the ashes of the old. Liz stood backstage at the Metropolitan Business Conference Center, her hands smoothing down her navy blazer for the 10th time. The gentle hum of hundreds of voices filtered through from the main hall, making her stomach flutter with nervous energy. "You're going to be amazing," Maya whispered, reaching out to squeeze her hand. She looked elegant as always in her cream silk blouse and tailored pants, but her eyes held something more valuable than any designer outfit: genuine pride and affection. Liz took a deep breath, glancing down at her note cards. "I never thought I'd be here," she admitted, "speaking at the same conference where your father used to give keynotes." "Well, you deserve to be here more than most," Maya replied firmly. "Your cafe has changed lives, Liz, not just yours, but everyone who works there." It was true. What had started as a simple coffee shop had grown into something much more. Liz had made it her mission to hire single parents struggling to make ends meet, providing flexible schedules and above-average wages. The business had flourished, expanding to 3 locations across the city. The stage manager approached them, clipboard in hand. "5 minutes, Ms. Thompson." Liz nodded, her throat suddenly dry. Through the curtain, she could see the audience settling into their seats: entrepreneurs, business leaders, and aspiring startup founders, all here to listen to her story. "Remember," Maya said softly, "just tell them your truth. That's all they need to hear." The memory of that first meeting on the airplane seemed like a lifetime ago. Now here they were, standing together as equals, as friends, as business partners who had defied the odds. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, "please welcome our next speaker, Elizabeth Thompson, founder and CEO of Community Grounds Cafe." Maya gave her one last encouraging smile as Liz walked onto the stage. The lights were bright, but not bright enough to hide the hundreds of faces looking up at her expectantly. "Thank you," Liz began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 3 years ago, I was working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table for my son. Today, I'm standing here because someone chose to believe in me when I barely believed in myself. She caught Maya's eye from the wings, drawing strength from her presence. "But this isn't just my story," Liz continued. "It's the story of every single parent who's ever stayed up late wondering how to make ends meet. It's the story of every person who's ever felt like the system was stacked against them." As she spoke, Liz could feel the audience leaning in, connecting with her words. She told them about the struggles, the late nights, the moments of doubt. She shared the story of how Community Grounds began, not just as a business, but as a mission to create change. "We now employ 35 single parents across our 3 locations," she said proudly. "Each one of them receives health care benefits, flexible scheduling, and a living wage. But more than that, they receive something that's harder to quantify: dignity, respect, and a chance to show their children what's possible." The room was silent, completely absorbed in her words. In the front row, she noticed several people wiping away tears. "Resilience isn't just about surviving tough times," Liz continued, her voice growing stronger. "It's about believing that you deserve more than just survival. It's about lifting others as you climb. Because success shouldn't be a lonely journey. It should be a community effort." She spoke about the power of meaningful support, not just financial investment, but genuine belief in someone's potential. She talked about how Maya's friendship had taught her that true partnerships cross all social boundaries. As Liz neared the end of her speech, she could feel the energy in the room, a mixture of inspiration and determination. "The next time you see someone struggling," she said, "remember this: everyone deserves a chance to turn their dreams into reality. Sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to listen, to believe, to stand beside them and say, 'You can do this, and I'll help you get there.'" The applause that followed was thunderous. From her position in the wings, Maya beamed with pride, tears glistening in her eyes. As Liz looked out at the standing ovation before her, she knew that her story had touched hearts and, hopefully, would inspire others to create similar ripples of change in their own communities. Maya sat in her newly leased office space, surrounded by stacks of paperwork and preliminary proposals. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the simple but elegant furniture she'd chosen, a far cry from the opulent decor of her father's corporate headquarters. "The Maya Thompson Foundation," she read aloud from the document in front of her, testing how the words felt on her tongue. Her assistant, Sarah, a former single mother herself whom Maya had hired specifically for this project, looked up from her computer. "The legal team says everything's ready for filing," Sarah reported. "We just need your final signature." Maya picked up her pen, then paused. "Did we double-check the mission statement? I want to make sure it's perfect." Sarah nodded, pulling up the document on her tablet. "To provide comprehensive support and opportunities for single parents and their children, fostering independence through education, employment, and entrepreneurship." The words made Maya smile. She thought about how far she'd come from that day on the airplane with a crying baby when she'd first met Liz. That chance encounter had changed everything: her perspective, her priorities, her whole life's purpose. "The first round of applications for small business grants is already impressive," Sarah continued, scrolling through her notes. We've received over 200 submissions in just the first week. Maya's phone buzzed with a message from Liz. Meeting the contractor at the new location. Still on for the park later? Absolutely, Maya typed back. Wouldn't miss it. She turned back to the incorporation papers and signed her name with confidence. This foundation represented everything she'd learned over the past year about privilege, responsibility, and the power of meaningful support. The foundation's first initiative would be replicating the community grounds model in other cities, providing funding and mentorship to single parents who wanted to start their own businesses. Maya had already identified potential locations in 3 different states. Sarah, can you schedule a meeting with the board of directors for next week? Maya asked, organizing the signed papers into a folder. I want to present the expansion timeline personally. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a photo from Liz. A "Coming Soon" sign being installed on the 4th community grounds location. Maya felt a surge of pride. What had started as one cafe had grown into a movement, inspiring similar initiatives across the city. Later that afternoon, Maya drove to the local park where she was meeting Liz. As she walked toward their usual bench, she saw Caleb, now a toddler, running through the playground with boundless energy. Liz sat nearby, watching him with a content smile. He's gotten so big, Maya said, settling beside her friend. Growing like a weed, Liz agreed. The daycare at the cafe says he's their most active student. They watched as Caleb fearlessly tackled the slide, his laughter carrying across the playground. Other children joined him, including several from families employed at community grounds. The foundation paperwork is officially filed, Maya shared. We should be able to start processing grant applications within the month. Liz squeezed her hand. I still can't believe how much has changed. Sometimes I wake up thinking it's all been a dream. Not a dream, Maya assured her. Just proof that anything is possible with the right support and determination. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees as they sat together, watching the children play. Maya thought about all the lives that would be touched by the foundation, all the stories yet to be written. The sense of purpose she felt now was worth more than all her inherited wealth combined. You know, Liz said softly, that day on the plane, when Caleb wouldn't stop crying, I almost didn't offer to help. I was so used to keeping to myself, minding my own business. I'm glad you did, Maya replied. You taught me what real strength looks like. They watched as Caleb waved to them from the top of the climbing frame, his face beaming with joy and confidence. It was a perfect moment, one that represented everything they'd worked for, everything they'd achieved together.